very much, and we do often comment on how many principals and vice principals we've trained in leadership skills in the BCTF, but you know, that's all part of the job. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today and to talk to you a little bit about the BCTF and what we do in the teaching profession and the importance of our work as teachers. I entered the profession I have something in common with you, and that is that I entered the profession in the late 70s at a time of declining enrollment. And which one of the reasons I taught in Japan was that there was no teaching jobs in BC when I graduated. There were very, very few. In fact, the declining enrollment at that time was more significant than it is now. And students, you know, sort of came back, enrollment went up again, and eventually we all got jobs, as you will. Though sometimes in periods of declining enrollment, it takes a little longer. Because of that up and down of declining enrollment, there's a particular demographic to the teaching profession. And at the moment, in the urban centers, there are quite a few teachers who are my age, in our 50s, right? And a bit older and younger than me because I entered that time of declining enrollment. And sometimes in the BCTF, we talk about renewal and engaging young people in the union and the profession, and we worry about that. But I have the great pleasure of coming to both these days and the New Teachers Conference that Mo organizes, and that experience has made me completely confident that both our union and our profession will be in good hands, because I've met so many great people like you who are really engaged in social justice courses, interested in the profession, interested in their union and professional organization, and I am completely confident that both our union and the profession will be in good hands and will be in your hands. The BCTF is a big union. We have 41,000 members. I think we're probably the third largest union in the province, maybe fourth, but as far as I know, QP is bigger, and the Government Employees Union, BCGEU, is bigger. And then it's the BCTF. So we're a large organization, and we are both a union and a professional organization. And once in a while we make a mistake. And that mistake is to think that our role as a union is somehow separate from our role as a professional organization. And over my years of activism, and I've been very engaged in bargaining. At one time I was a chief negotiator for the BCTF. I've been on 3 provincial bargaining teams, and that's been a particular area of interest and work for me, as being engaged in bargaining. And we sometimes tend to think that that is somehow separate from the work that we do in on professional issues and professional development, and separate from our work in social justice. But over my years, I've come to see all of those parts of our work in the BCTF as completely integrated. In fact, we have had a class size and composition campaign for more than 30 years. And it's had its ups and downs. And at one time, when we had local bargaining, we negotiated, according to the people on the other side of the table, bargaining table, some of the best language on class size and composition in the world. Which of course was later stripped out by the Liberals in 2002. They stripped our collective agreement of that language. But we negotiated that language partly as a union because we wanted decent working conditions. But fundamentally, the driving force for negotiating that language was wanting to do a good job in the classroom, was a professional concern, was a commitment to our professional obligation to every student in the class. And an understanding that with integration of students with special needs, we needed reasonable class size limits and guarantees of support for students with special needs in order to do a good job as professionals. And so we bargained based on our professional concerns. In Vancouver, in our local agreement, we bargained language around inner city school funding. That was a social justice initiative on our part. That was an attempt to recognize that children who live in poverty need more resources, and that school boards and governments should provide those resources. And so our work as professionals, our work as union activists, our work as social justice activists, it all overlaps in a myriad of ways. and is really part of our commitment as teachers to children and to building a better society. That's why we become teachers. We don't go into it for the money, and we did a pretty decent job in the last round, so the money is, not bad. You can certainly have a middle-class lifestyle on a teacher's salary, but you're a talented group of people who could have chosen a lot of professions. And we choose teaching because we are committed to children, because we understand that public education plays a very significant role in a democratic society. Part of that role is producing educated citizens who will engage in the democratic society, inform themselves, vote, and take their responsibilities as citizens. And part of that role of public education is an equalizing role, is to say, whatever your background, whatever difficult family life you have, whatever foster home you may come from, you are welcome in our school, and we will do our very best to provide you with a deep, rich, comprehensive education. And that gift we give you of education is the greatest gift we can give a child, something that no one can take away from them. And so the work of the Federation spans all of those things. We have a particular culture in the Federation, and I will warn you, it's an expensive one. So we have quite high dues and a number of different kinds of dues. But one of the reasons is that we have had a culture in the Federation of when teachers come to our decision-making bodies, our annual general meeting, we have also a representative assembly and an executive committee, which are our 3 decision-making bodies. When people come to those bodies and say, as teachers in the province, we should do this. By and large, our response as an organization has been, that's a good idea. You're right, we should do that. And that's one of the reasons why we're engaged in so much work in so many areas in the Federation. But it is an important part of the kind of organization we are. Because one of the ways to engage the membership of an organization, which is both a union and a professional organization, is to have a lot of opportunities for your members to be engaged. And so, as Barbara said, Harry said, we do have a lot of opportunities for our members to be engaged. And we have a particular philosophy, which is an important one, and I want to share that with you. We call it Teachers Teaching Teachers. And so instead of housing a group of experts at the BCTF, which we do, Mo being one of them on French programs and in other areas, we do have about 38, 40 teachers and lawyers who work on our administrative staff at the BCTF, and they are experts. Some of them are extremely skilled at the work that they do. But for the most part, we don't send them out to do workshops. What we do is we bring teachers in, we train teachers, and we send teachers out to do those workshops. And that's important for lots of reasons, but 2 that I want to talk to you about. One is that it engages members in our work, but the second is that it sets out the fact that teachers are the experts. That teachers are experts at what we do. And it sets a role model of that classroom teacher who's going to do your workshop today as the one who knows. And I have to tell you that you will be the one who knows in your school and community. You will be the expert. I'll never forget when I began teaching in Abbotsford. I was a young teacher in my 20s. I'd only been teaching, I taught 2 years in Japan, and then I taught a year or so in Abbotsford.